We've made it. The regular season is here, and we have two star pitchers to talk about here on the Friday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are brought to you by Vivid Seats. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. Getting back to our usual two-start thing here now that the season is underway, and opening day yesterday was quite exciting. How about your guy Wilyer Abreu coming through with a couple homers, Todd? Getting to Luke Jackson there in the ninth inning of a tie game. How do you enjoy opening day? You get to watch some games?
I'll be honest, I was on a project and I didn't really get to start watching till 6. And I didn't even look at the scores because I could not be distracted. I had a deadline, had to meet. Okay, fine. No one will watch more games than me from 6 o'clock yesterday until the end of the season. But I got a bit of a late. And I caught up and watched the MLB Network highlight shows and I caught up. So I feel I can talk somewhat intelligibly about the games. But yeah, I saw that. There was
I think you might have muted yourself. Oh, looks like we got a technical difficulty here. But I didn't get to watch a ton yesterday because of the MLB TV issues that a lot of people were dealing with across the country. I watched a little bit of the quad box that they had for free on MLB TV, but could not get in to watch my Reds, so that was a little disappointing. There you are.
I don't think I caught any Reds. We both went. At least have a meeting behind the stage. We both disappeared from my screen right there.
Oh, well, hey, I got you back now, so I think we're all set. But I got to say, have you ever seen the movie? You seen Basketball? You know that movie?
I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. I don't know if I've ever seen it beginning to end.
Well, there's an old businessman type who kind of has this just this complete indignation, this kind of mini brain aneurysm, and that's the exact reaction I had when I saw that Ian Jabot was getting the first save chance for the Reds.
Non-roster invitee.
Yeah, and then he squandered the opportunity. Blown save on opening day. That's not how you want to start the season. Terry Francona mismanaging the bullpen a little bit, let's be frank, and maybe a little bit of a galaxy brain move. I mean, I know the players all rave about his stuff, Jabot, but to take a guy who wasn't even mentioned, non-roster invitee, really puzzling to me.
Yeah, all right. I'm always the one that says, why isn't it Jabot's fault? I think there's a little bit of that in there, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Francona has got a leash as far, the reputation. People are rooting for him because of the health. He's such a good guy, but team wants to win. How long are the fans going to put up with that sort of thing? We'll have to see.
By the way, just an early comment in the chat wondering Spencer Torkelson, Jorge Polanco, or Gavin Sheets won for a head-to-head category league. Torkelson 4 walks and a homer yesterday. Polanco homered. I left that homer on my main event bench, which was just a killer. But Gavin Sheets I picked up on a $0 ad in the stake league, and he homered. I'm going to lean Torkelson here, but do you have a preference between Torkelson, Jorge Polanco, and Sheets?
If this is our set of choices back into the roster, right, I'm taking the upside guy, and that's Torkelson.
Yeah. Still kind of uncertain how much he'll play against righties, but I kind of think maybe lock him into that DH spot, have Kerry Carpenter play the outfield.
Yep.
Especially with no Parker Meadows. So, yeah, I'm leading Torque there. I mentioned Luke Jackson gave up that second homer to Wilyer Abreu. I think he's probably the leading candidate for saves there because he did pitch the ninth of a tie game at home. But I have to think this, the first outing will temper bids this weekend on Luke Jackson.
Yeah, I wrote about it. In that, I think it was telling that it was Garcia, Martin, and then Jackson. Garcia walked 2 guys, got 2 outs, but Martin cleaned that up. I guess you can argue use Martin because you need to clean that up. I don't know. But if that was Bochy's plan, he's going to be rethinking it just a little bit, right?
I would think so. I mean, who knows if he's going to make a change just after one outing, but capable arms ahead of Luke Jackson.
It was Will Middlebrooks, better known as Jenny Dell's husband.
That's right.
Calling the game, he said, Will Abreu, he said, if he throws an inside slider and kind of hangs it, Abreu's going to flip it over the fence. And as soon as he said fence, that ball's heading toward the fence. Will Middlebrooks called that, former Red Sox, former Ranger, called that. And again, Jenny Dell's husband.
Yeah, that's how I remember him. Although he had some good years with the Red Sox.
Oh, he had a couple good years. And he's not bad. He's kind of monotone, but he's not bad in the analysis.
That's good to hear. Wilyer Abreu, by the way, was kind of iffy coming in. Just had that illness, but he did play enough late in the spring to get clearance. So he's looking like a draft day steal. And another one, Tyler Soderstrom, 2 homers yesterday. Yeah. Big boy homers, and looking like a guy who people are going to regret not taking a chance on. Kind of, with Oakland, not Oakland.
The Athletics.
Just blank Athletics. They do have that weird Vegas patch on their uniforms, but
yeah,
I feel like Soderstrom, redrafting today, you know how it is with recency bias, but 2 homer games definitely got people's attention here, and weekend drafts. Still drafts to come this weekend. I expect him to go for a lot more. Tyler Soderstrom.
Oh yeah. I think I was asked. I think it was in the Sirius show with James and Eric. Soderstrom, or was it Soderstrom or Torkelson? I forget what. I think it was Soderstrom or Torkelson. The only thing I'm concerned about with Soderstrom is Nick Kurtz. I think he's on the fast track, and Soderstrom maybe goes back to backup catcher. I don't think that Soderstrom is going to keep Nick Kurtz, but yeah, absolutely. You get him now, and you worry about it later. Power's going to play in Sutter Health Park. It's a lot warmer. The Power should play up, and Soderstrom should benefit.
Yeah, he made that T-Mobile Park look small.
Yeah, which
is pretty amazing.
As we talk about, is as extreme for pitching as Coors Field is for hitting.
Very good point. Well, we had our first run of Fab in the RotoWire Stake League on Wednesday night ahead of opening day, and the Luke Jackson types went for the most, but behind them, Alan Roden for $11 out of 100. Might seem like a little much, but he was in the starting lineup yesterday, Roden, and Dalton Varsho out. Could be an opportunity for him to play.
That's the key. Right now, Varsho is out, but Santander was in the outfield, I believe. There's an opening to put Santander as the regular DH, and Roden can earn himself full-time run in the corner, probably right field, leaving Springer in left. So there is a pathway. Roden's got to earn it, but to me, right now, the DH spot will be kind of rotating. I found it a little bit curious that Toronto didn't want to have Varsho DH, but I guess he's just so good defensively that you just want to get that shoulder healed, right?
He delay that return to the field any longer.
Yeah, so I think that it wasn't so much that he didn't trust. It's just your value is so much on the deep, which is so weird because he was like a poor fielding catcher, and now he's a Gold Glove center fielder. But it's just kind of that's cool. That's what baseball, So
absolutely.
I kind of like you want to preserve Springer, not have to play center field all that much. That's why you have Miles Straw around, huh?
Well, yeah, you gotta. Those days for Springer are definitely over. So you have to get creative. But Roden on base twice in his debut. Yeah. And how about opening day cleanup hitter for Toronto, Andres Jimenez? Not your typical cleanup hitter, but he homered. Yeah, homered. So good on Andres Jimenez in his Toronto debut. Behind Roden, too, AJ Smith-Shawver went for $9 in the Stake League. You do? Yeah.
Yeah. I have
9 out of 100.
I'm not going to call him Spencer Schwellenbach, but I think he's got some talent, and I love him on that team. Been waiting. I think we've all been waiting for Smith-Shawver to get the chance. Let's give it to Bryce Elder. Let's give it to Dylan Dodd. No, let's give it to AJ Smith-Shawver.
Yeah, I mean he had some prospect pedigree coming up, and a little bit of a disappointing debut in the big leagues, but certainly a guy that you don't want to give up on. And if you need a starter in this 16-team league, I think that makes sense. Although Tyler Mahle at 5 seems like a pretty good value too. Ryan Bliss for $1. I know you were in on him late in draft season, and pretty good debut for Ryan Bliss yesterday. At least debut as an opening day regular. Did play in 33 games last year, but his first opening day as a starter for Seattle.
Even as a minor leaguer, I wish he showed better plate approach, better contact, and more walks to take advantage of that speed. A guy with that profile, you want to see 15, 16, 70% strikeout, not 22 or 23. We'll see how it in the pros, but 50 stolen bases, essentially free. I'm not, I wouldn't say draft Ryan Bliss in the 5th. He was like free. Yeah. I'll take it free.
The very end of drafts. Yeah. So did steal a base, drew a couple walks, and also advanced to 3rd after that steal.
Yeah.
So I was able to watch some of that, and pretty impressed with Ryan Bliss. My pickups in the stake league were all $0 ads. Tony Santillan, Scott Barlow, Gavin Sheets. I had to replace Austin Hayes, so it does feel so good when you press the right button and you get a guy like Sheets in there who homers off the bench, no less. His debut with the Padres, and Santillan and Barlow not looking great, but I still think Santillan, based on Francona's comments, is kind of seen as the top reliever. Maybe he'll have to, pitch the 8th yesterday, but I could see him taking over the 9th. But kind of a mess there in Cincinnati.
Hopefully, short term.
Yeah.
It was I don't think it was a phantom injury with Diaz, right? I think he legit had a hamstring injury. Let's just call it serendipitous that he gets to go and have on a rehab assignment, because didn't it sound like Francona? He wants Diaz to be the guy, but he has to show he can be the guy.
Yeah, I think that was the quote. Like, we want him to be the guy. We want him to be that guy.
Right.
But you have to show it first. So we'll see if Alexis Diaz gets back into that role. But I thought for $0, I'd take a chance. But he's got a scoreless inning out of Santillan yesterday. We had a question, by the way. We have not mentioned Hunter Goodman, but PJ322 was wondering if we had discussed him being in the lineup today over Stallings. We had not, but Goodman had just a fantastic spring. Also, reports about him working behind the plate and making a lot of progress over the offseason, Hunter Goodman. So not a guy I liked early in draft season because I just didn't see a spot on the diamond for him, but he has kind of forced his way into this Rockies lineup, Hunter Goodman.
Once, I forget who it was that the Rockies let go, and it was apparent it was a backup catcher. Apparent that Goodman would be the backup catcher. Interest went up a bit because we know what Stallings is. And even in Colorado, we know what Stallings is, right? Colorado, we were joking about it. Just the Rockies going to Rocky. Trade Nolan Jones. Excellent. That means it's going to be Beck and Veen in the corners, right? No. You're going to send Veen to the minors and pick up Mickey Moniak. I don't mind the Moniak pickup. Why not? But Veen showed he should be up.
Yeah, that was surprising in a sense, but then when you think about the team, it's a little less surprising. This is just what they do. But Hunter Goodman this spring, 19 games in the Cactus League, 444 average, 500 on base, 822 slug with 3 homers and as many walks as strikeouts. So, I mean, this is just a kind of an example of a young guy making pretty rapid progress, which these guys can do. They can improve their skills, and it seems like Goodman may have done that offensively and defensively.
He had a decent stretch last year, so he's been on radars, or he's not a surprise. But then the Rockies stopped using him. The Rockies. I don't like. I'm not even insulting, commenting on things. I like to stick to fantasy, but that organization just is the things that even has me out talking about it.
Yeah, very puzzling organization, but They will make their debut today. They're one of two teams, along with the Rays, that did not play yesterday. But hopefully you guys all enjoyed opening day and your teams got off to at least some success yesterday. We will get into our two-start pitchers here in a second, but let's pause briefly for a quick prepaid word from our sponsors. All right, we are back here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay Link and Todd Zola. Back to our normal thing. We've been doing this for many years now, Todd, where we go through the projected starters. That's a key word, projected, because so much can change, and this is our best guess. But our look ahead to next week and our projected starters grid over at RotoWire. You can customize and follow along with us. Customize that start date for March 31st, 2025. Then hit show starters. And we got all of our two-start pitchers highlighted, and we will grade them on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being must start.
0. We can use 0.
Oh,
right?
yeah, 0 to 5.
You're going to go zeros.
Good call. Good call. There'll probably be some zeros mixed in here. So that's good to point out. And very much a loose, inexact science, I guess you would say. You're a little bit more by the numbers than me, but
when I put them in, yeah.
Well, it's just so much of this is, 0 to 5. Where are you going to land? It's kind of inexact, but we are going to give our best guesses here, and the rankings reflect kind of how we feel about starting these guys across fantasy baseball. Number 1 on the list is really interesting. Corbin Burns, who signed that massive deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they pushed him back to the 5th game of the season. Kind of strange here.
No, actually not.
No, what was the deal with Burns?
Burns wanted to stay on his spring training schedule as far as
weird.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to stay on the 5-day. Now, is it weird that he wanted to? You can argue, we can argue that I guess the prestige of starting earlier didn't matter to him. He wanted to stay on his routine.
Creature of habit. So yeah, I see that.
It's it's so weird. We do this every year, and we're so happy to do it because it's our thing. And then it's anticlimactic because we're getting all the 4 and 5 starters with the 2 starts. And the first guy we talk about is Corbin Burns. So anyway.
Well, Burns lines up at the Yankees and then at Washington. So I'm going to give him a 5. I did not end up drafting Corbin Burns anywhere, but hard to deny him a 5 given his track record.
Yeah, I think Eric Alterman of our group was pounding this drum. His strikeout rate has dropped for the past several years, below average last year.
It was like 23%.
Yeah, it's still manageable, but it's not ace-like. All right, spring training is what it is, but it was up in the spring. So I'm staying with a 5 as well until he proves otherwise. And I'm cautiously optimistic that the strikeout rate rebounds. It can't get any lower, right? I mean, it just can't.
Yeah, it's fallen like, 10 percentage points in recent years?
It's been in a free fall. It has.
Yeah, so that is a little troubling. Still lots of like overall, but yeah, he definitely needs to trend back upward with that K rate. Next up on our 2-start pitcher list here, Joey Estes lines up versus the Cubs at Colorado. A tough spring for him with a 7.56 ERA, 1.62 WHIP, and with that at Colorado on the schedule, it's going to make him a 0, Joey Estes.
Yeah, it's no longer good that you're at home. So yeah, our first 5 and our first 0.
That'll be the first series, Major League Series at Sutter Health Park, right? Yeah. So
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, are they home? No, they're in Seattle. Yeah, so
they're in Seattle right now. So yeah, that'll be. I'm interested to just see the look of that park because, I assume it's going to kind of have that minor league park feel, but I think there's a short foul line, but.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm not rolling the dice
today.
That's true. Yeah, good point. Now, Grant Holmes surprised some people by making an appearance in relief yesterday. I don't think that's all that unusual as a 5th starter. It's kind of just essentially his between starts bullpen session.
Exactly.
when it boils down to it. So Grant Holmes would be at the Dodgers versus Miami. You love the second half of that one, but the Dodgers are just such a juggernaut that I'm a little nervous. Holmes seemed to be a steady riser throughout the spring. He finally debuted in the big leagues last year after, a decade in the minors. Former prospect, finally making some noise in the big leagues here. Oh, man. That Dodgers one is tough. So I think I'm going to go 3. Feels a little high off the bat, though.
The Dodgers one is tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2. I mean,
2.
Just because early in the year, you may have better choices because your whole team hasn't gotten hurt yet.
Yeah.
So it may just come down to Holmes and somebody else, and I can see going elsewhere.
Yeah, that Dodgers team is slow out of the gates yesterday. They're just inevitable. And Tommy Edman, another homer. Shohei homered, of course.
Oh.
And Betts, even though he's down like 20 pounds, he's ready to rock.
I couldn't even see him. There's a toothpick on my screen.
No, that weight loss, you can tell. Like he was unable to hold down food for like 10 days or whatever it was, and he definitely looks skinny, but available to play. So we'll see if it affects his performance at all. But next up, a guy that I'll probably be starting in various leagues, not without risk though, Cade Povich of the Baltimore Orioles. He secured that 5th rotation spot for Baltimore. Getting some hype too this spring, even though didn't have great success in his first cup of coffee in the big leagues, but Cade Povich won that number 5 job over Albert Suarez with a pretty impressive spring. He had a 3.07 ERA, 0.89 WHIP, and 15-4 K to walk in 14 2/3 innings. You trust in Cade Povich this week versus Boston at Kansas City?
Well, he's got that juggernaut Red Sox lineup in there.
That's right.
At least you won't have to face Willie Abreu because it'll be Rob Refsnyder. You know what? Early in the, I'm going to give him a 2. I'm not going to. It's on a 0-1 where I'm not playing him.
Mm-hmm.
I can see using Povich. I do like Povich. He was so bad last year. He's better than that. I like drafting him because he was free.
Yeah,
and I think he's a streamer. And you know what I say? If you can't use a guy in a 2-start week, when can you use him?
Exactly. And actually, if you're like me, you had to swap out a bunch of starters and plug in a bunch of relievers for this half week. So I'm going to try to maximize my starts next week to kind of make up for it a little bit. Not go too crazy, though. Want to protect my ratios, but I think I'll probably start Povich. I also have him as a 2 for next week. And how about Sean Newcomb making the Red Sox rotation? Lined up to start opposite Povich on Monday, and then versus St. Louis to close the week. Let's see here. I mean, it's just hard for me to trust this guy.
I don't think he's going to go 5.
No.
I guess this means the Red Sox aren't going to go undefeated because they're going to lose at least one of these games.
I would think so.
No, he's a 0. I mean, I don't think he's going to go 5. Not to mention Baltimore. They can hit homers, right?
I think so. I think they hit a few yesterday.
6.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around the block for a long time. Maybe the Red Sox, I wouldn't put it past them to tap into something here with Newcomb. They clearly see something they like here, but not trusting the 31-year-old. That would be a tough sell for me. Ben Brown made the Chicago Cubs rotation. Colin Ray was kind of the presumptive guy, but Brown wrestled that away. So at the Athletics at Sutter Health Park, then versus San Diego for Ben Brown, a guy I'm interested in with some upside, but probably only going to give him a 1 here. I'd like to see it first. If he has a great week, that means you're paying out the wazoo the next weekend in Fab, but I'm going to give him a 1 just because deep league, I could maybe see rolling the dice.
I guess, yeah. I haven't been the biggest. There have been bigger Brown supporters than I. I guess we'll leave it at that. Did not have a good outing in Japan. Not going to hold that against him. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I kind of want to see it, maybe because my starting point is a little bit lower in general on Ben Brown. There are people that are really high on him. Maybe I need to do my research.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's shown flashes, but I just get a real reliever-ish type of sense. But who knows? I mean, he could, they could tap into something here. And getting the A's on the road looks pretty good on paper. Then home against San Diego. These early April games in Wrigley, though, I do kind of worry about the wind blowing out. And
that's when it blows in. Early
Oh,
in
yeah?
Wrigley it plays very big. Later, it plays very small. But last year, the winds never flipped, and it was one of the best pitchers' park all year long. Weird.
So Ben Brown, I gave a 1. What did you give Ben Brown?
Yeah, I'm with you on a 1.
Okay.
Again, it's because I'm just not. My baseline isn't as optimistic as maybe it should be. But
well, we shall see. I think a cautious approach is definitely justified there. Brady Singer, new addition to the Reds, coming over for Jonathan India from Kansas City in the offseason. He lines up for versus Texas, then at Milwaukee. He was lined up opposite Kumar Rocker, so that'll be a pretty interesting matchup on Monday. The more I dug into Singer, I kind of like the fit in Cincinnati. He's, kind of a tough guy to project, but I think it could be a fit with that sinker in Cincinnati. So tough to justify. I do have him in a head-to-head league. Definitely be throwing him out there. So I'm probably going to go just a 1. But another guy kind of like Ben Brown, maybe not quite the upside of Ben Brown, but I think there might be some upside here.
I'm 3. I've been on Singer.
3? Wow.
I agree with you. And I think he's solid. And I'm not as scared about Milwaukee as opposed to the Great American Ballpark, which is great for hits and homers. Milwaukee is the #1 homer park in the league, but it's not as good for runs. Milwaukee is not going to bludgeon you with power. They will run you out of the building, right? But they're not going to bludgeon you. So I think I like Singer this week.
Interesting. Okay, I got you down as a 3 then. I like the aggressiveness.
Maybe not on Spears. Spears also has 2.
Yeah, Spears, I'm going to go 0.
Yeah.
Just because, he hasn't really shown much at the big league level. But, Singer is definitely interesting. Now, Luis L. Ortiz of the Cleveland Guardians at San Diego, at the Angels. And if I'm not mistaken, let me look it up, but I thought Luis L. Ortiz was having some real control issues during the spring. So they had to scratch Tanner Bybee yesterday, but Tanner Bybee will be slotting in again this weekend.
It was illness, right?
Yeah. Stomach issue, I think. Eating Chipotle before his starts kind of came back to bite him. Luis L. Ortiz in 18 2/3 Cactus League innings this spring. 14 walks. So, I kind of, Cleveland's one of those teams where I kind of appeal to authority with their pitching staff. They've had so much success, but until Luis L. Ortiz gets these command issues figured out, probably going to go 0 here.
You don't want to go 0 when you're at the Angels, but you kind of San Diego. I'm going to go on 1. I'm not going to use him, but I don't know that I can't put anybody 0 when you're facing the Angels.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're going to go 1. You said
I'm going to go 1, but I'm not.
I kind of like the pitcher.
Looking forward to using him.
Kind of like the pitcher, like in a vacuum. If you take away the spring issues, but just until I see him filling up the zone, I'd be a little hesitant. More than a little, I'd be reluctant and probably stray away from him for now. But I do kind of think he could be something still. By the way, we had a question in the chat about a trade. We'll just hit this real quick. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Jesus Luzardo for Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller. That's tough because I'd lean towards the big hitter, but those 2 arms are pretty special.
To me, I know people want us to analyze the players, but that's a needs trade.
Yeah,
what do you need? Who you upgrading? Who does Guerrero upgrade? And what pitchers do you have to replace Gilbert and Miller? I think on the surface, I think Gilbert and Miller, air quote value probably are the better side. But Luzardo has got the upside that it could flip that way. To me, it's a needs base. I don't think others are saying what a dumb offer on either side. It's a fair trade.
No.
It comes down to what you need.
Yeah, I was watching some of that Seattle game last night, and did you see Gilbert take a comebacker right off of the wallet? Right off the
I didn't see it live, but I did see it.
Yeah, I was surprised he stayed in and was able to keep dominating like he did.
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty bad, but when you take it off the meat, it's not so bad, I guess. Herman Marquez of the Colorado Rockies at Philly versus the Athletics. This is a guy I was on back in 2018. So was, 7 years ago. I learned my lesson that Coors Field is undefeated, and that doesn't mean you can't extract some value here and there from Rockies starters, but generally not people I want in my starting lineup for fantasy. So I'm going to go, Philly scares me, and that's on the road. Plus, he's opposite Cristopher Sanchez. I think I'm going to go 0.
I'm going to go 0. Coors Field, Blaylock. No, wait, Blaylock's the second one. Even so, Marquez. I don't know why I was thinking Blaylock. Athletics, who are going to hit. They're going to hit. They just can't hit.
I mean, they had a great offense down the stretch last season.
Yeah.
You got Soderstrom, and
we're not even sure if they can't pitch. They have unproven pitchers. They used to have like Paul Blackburn, terrible pitchers, but the Spences and the Estises are more unproven than they are just plain stinky.
Yeah, true. They brought in today's starter Springs, and of course signed the biggest contract in team history.
Severino, who did really well.
Severino, yeah. And I think they were facing some pressure from the Players Association to spend a little money, but hey, they did. So be it. For the White Sox, who got a win on opening day, by the way, Martin Perez, guy we've circled the block on many times, a 33-year-old lefty versus Minnesota at Detroit. I think it's going to be a 0 on old Martin Perez.
Yeah, it's going to be a 0. I mean, not the most daunting of lineups, but it's still a 0.
Mm-hmm. Casey Mize, another guy we've, talked about for many years running now, but you buy into his spring at all? This is a tough one because I lean, not really being interested, but he's only 27. There's still an outside chance that he's found something new. He kind of unlocked something. Did have a 1.89 ERA in the spring across 19 innings, 25 strikeouts too. He gets 8 walks in 19 innings. So not fully buying into it, but let me double check these matchups here. At Seattle versus the White Sox.
Driven.
Yeah, this is
doesn't get any better.
I think this is a 1, but with the matchups, he's probably a 2.
I'm going 3. I mean, at Seattle, I'm not, again, such a great pitcher's park.
Yeah.
And, all right, the White Sox are 1-0. That doesn't mean they can't go 1-161. They're not going to go 1-161. Zola, you're an idiot. But even so, I'm going Mize with a 3.
I could definitely see that case. You make some good points, At Seattle versus the White Sox.
Now, who's going to close the game for him? He's not going 9. Who's going to get the save? It's not Jason Foley.
Yeah. Uncle Ted said Mize is a 0.
Kenta Maeda is my dark horse to end up with the closer role in Motown.
Yeah, they optioned last year's saves leader, Jason Foley. So, it's looking like Bo Brisky for now, but it could be somebody, could be a quote-unquote failed starter, ends up taking that job. Ronel Blanco is pretty interesting. I kind of liked the price late in draft season, ended up with him on online championship. Now, he had that no-hitter last year, right? But then he got busted mid-game for a foreign substance.
The glove, yeah.
Yeah, had a 10-day suspension. Came back and wasn't quite as good from then on, but still pretty darn impressive. So it's not something where I just look at him and say, he was clearly cheating or something like that.
Yet more people were on Arrighetti than Blanco, which I thought to be a little bit weird in draft season.
Yeah, Blanco didn't have a very good spring. That could have affected things. 8.44 ERA. Although I think he finished it off in strong fashion. Let me take a look here. Not really. I think it might have been one of those exhibition games, not technically a grapefruit
perhaps,
game, but
yeah.
either way, Ronel Blanco lining up versus San Francisco at Minnesota for Ronel. So I don't think I'm going to go 4 here, but I think a 3 makes some sense. I'll probably start him in my league.
I'm with you at 3. I'm with you on a 3.
Yeah. I mean, definitely a guy who's interesting. And Hayden Wesneski getting a lot of love in chat, and definitely a sleeper candidate here.
Well,
it's possible that all these guys they got for Kyle Tucker end up playing a pretty big role in the team this year.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Tucker has a big role for the Cubs. I know Wesneski doesn't have 2, but it's worth a little bit of chatter. He was a kind of a not sabermetric, but just that was Steve Moya's term. He was a fantasy darling for a few years with the Cubs. It never materialized. Houston's not a bad team to go to try to I don't know about revitalize, but get your career back on track. I do like that. I think it's now Garcia, some of these guys coming back. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? But I think Wesneski could earn a spot with the Astros. Framber looked pretty good. My number one start in a lot of leagues because I waited. All right, it's one start, obviously, clearly, but Framber shoved yesterday.
Yeah, he did. I think that Astros team, even though they missed the championship series last year for the first time in 7-8 years.
Yeah,
I still think that their window is open. I mean, they look pretty good. Cam Smith out and right is a question though. Like his hitting ability, but he looked a little shaky. He's playing deep. They want him playing deep because he's unfamiliar with the position.
I heard. I think it was Jim Bowden. I forget who it was, but one of the GMs was talking about him. And I know our own Jeff Erickson has made the Jordan Walker comparison, and I agree with it to a certain extent. But Cam Smith is a baseball player. Jordan Walker is an athlete who they're trying to make a baseball player. So to me, that's where the analogy falls. No analogy is perfect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think Cam Smith has a better chance to make the transition than Jordan Walker did.
Cam Smith with a opposite field single in his very first big league plate appearance.
First pitch.
So. Yeah, I gotta say, I kind of got emotional watching that video of him getting surprised by his mom and
they're great, but they're so planned. I keep thinking Vince McMahon's behind the curtain. They're so planned, but yet
it's kind of for the camera.
It's none of my darn business. You know what I mean? But yet I want to watch it because it's so cool.
Yeah. I was happy for the kid. Also, selfishly happy for myself because I got him in a few things. Who knows if it'll pan out? But
I got him in a high stakes keeper league, AL only. I'm not unhappy at all.
Yeah, when he made the team, he suddenly jumped to the top of the odds for the Rookie of the Year on DraftKings. Anyway,
when you got to beat out Christian Campbell and Jason Dominguez, it's not that hard.
I mean, I like Campbell.
I do too.
I don't know. It could blow up. Maybe he's not ready, but man, the bat's he swings hard and makes pretty good contact, and the speed too. I was surprised to see Cam Smith was over 30 feet per second sprint speed yesterday. Kris Bubic next up on our 2-star pitcher list here, and Bubic was a guy that I started to hear some buzz on late in the spring. His final Cactus League outing went 5, allowed just 1 run and struck out 8. Consider me a skeptic, but maybe something tangible here. At Milwaukee versus Baltimore, not going to be a 0 for me. And actually, it might be like a 2. Man, Milwaukee didn't look very good offensively yesterday. I'm trying not to think much about the Jackson Churio 5K game.
Platinum sombrero.
That's a tough game, man. Baseball's so darn difficult. At Milwaukee versus Baltimore, I think I'm going to go 2 on Bubic.
I'm going 2. It's clear the Royals want him to succeed. I'm not comparing him to Garrett Crochet in terms of talent, but the way the Royals brought Bubic up in the bullpen last year to stretch him out just enough that he could start this year, It's kind of they chose him over Daniel Lynch. Okay, that's not a high bar to pass, but it's clear to me the Royals see something and want to do something with Povich.
Yeah, and a pretty good landing spot here. I mean, Baltimore does scare you, but it is home against Baltimore. So, yeah, I think if you're feeling lucky, maybe you can roll Povich out there.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Anderson at St. Louis versus Cleveland.
It's not Tim Anderson?
Hey, is that why they is that what they're doing with Tim Anderson now? What a weird team here too.
Isn't it though?
I do not know what the heck they're doing. They brought who was that guy they brought up after 0 minor league experience?
Seth Johnson, wasn't it?
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to rush to get him projected, and he didn't have any innings, and we're translating college ball, independent ball, and he goes out there and stinks. Anyway,
yeah, man, very strange organization here, and I think they lost their 12th consecutive, or 11 of 12 opening days, something like that. Imagine being Mike Trout.
There are advantages, but there are disadvantages too.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not too bad being Mike Trout. Just to get off on that foot every year, has to be a little deflating. All right, Tyler Anderson 0, right, for both of us.
You know what? Yes, it's not the toughest of matchups, but it's Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he carried a little bit of a success over from the Dodgers, but hard to trust. I mean, more bad than good since coming over to the Angels. Far more bad than good. All right, we'll pause briefly, bring you a couple quick words from our sponsors, including Vivid Seats. Finally, baseball is back this MLB season. Knock it out of the park with Vivid Seats and score great tickets to the biggest games of the year. Every fastball, every home run, and every eye-popping play of your favorite team, live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, you can earn rewards with every single purchase. Just buy 10 tickets and then cash in your credit towards your free 11th ticket. Talk about an easy win. And here's a pro reward tip. When you're buying tickets for your whole group, split the bill and make progress toward your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the dugout to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2025 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. Also, a new sponsor here, Rebet. March Madness is here, and if you're looking for a way to get in the game, it's time to check out Rebet, the ultimate social sports book and casino platform. With over 100-plus leagues on the sportsbook and 24/7 live dealer casino games, Rebet is striving to give users an experience they haven't had elsewhere. All March long, Rebet is rolling out daily promos, making it the ultimate month of exciting offers for their fans. Right now, for a limited time, Rebet is matching your first purchase up to $100 in Rebet cash when you use promo code ROTOWIRE. Download Rebet today in the App Store or Google Play. Enter code ROTOWIRE and start playing with your promo funds. It's time to play, predict, and experience the madness only on Rebet. The madness. Yeah. Love that. All right. Well, we appreciate their sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are on to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow lining up for 2 here because they're starting Sasaki and Yamamoto and Sasaki this weekend. So Glasnow will be versus Atlanta at Philly.
I don't care. He's a 5 to me, no matter who he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, tough 2-step here. But it is as long as he's active, you're rolling him out. It's just when is he going to go down? Because I mean, he's exceeded 120 innings once.
Yeah, and it was I mean, last year, I mean, close.
He's reached 120 innings twice, but exceeded it only once.
He's the guy though that is just so good. I was willing to use him as my SP3. I just give me those numbers, build up the ratios, and I'll deal with it if he goes out.
Yeah, that feels like the call to me too. Yeah, I think I'm going to go 5. I mean, until he's down with an injury or the Dodgers make it clear that they're going to, handle him with caution. Probably going to be 5 even with those matchups. By the way, Angelo in the chat mentioned Mackenzie Gore yesterday versus the Phillies. Phillies ended up coming back, but what a performance by Mackenzie Gore. I'm definitely having some FOMO now on old Mackenzie, setting a new career high at K's and just looking
13.
dominant. Yeah.
No walks, 13. I think his pitches were 93. Maybe later in the year, you would have gone out there for the 7th, but 93 pitches this time of year, I think it was probably the right idea. Gore's interesting in that Washington showed a little something with DJ Hertz and with Mitchell Parker. They may be able to develop pitching. Now you do that with someone with Gore's talent, and you really have something.
What I loved to see yesterday in that game was the 12 pitch at bat, I think it was, from Cade Ruiz, who then finished off the at bat with just a long, loud homer. And he was a guy I kind of got in on late in the draft season. Thought the price was pretty reasonable and had a fantastic spring. It's kind of been slow going for him to put it all together, but Cade Ruiz might be a stud at the catcher position this year. I'd love to see that at bat. I mean, he was just a bloody brilliant at bat yesterday. Cal Quantrill versus the Mets at Atlanta. Gonna be a 0 for me.
No, I want to go. I just, to me, he looked like a guy that could be better than he is. But even when he got out of Coors, it hasn't materialized. So I'm with you. I'm with you in a 0. But these are tough matchups too. But if he suddenly were to figure it out, I wouldn't be surprised. He's getting a little older, not too old though.
Yeah, he had that 1 year in Cleveland where the results far outmatched the estimators, but hard to bank on that, especially with this team. Which, I mean, this rotation team, this is on par with last year's White Sox, isn't it? I don't think they'll win 41 games only, but could be pushing it. I mean, Sandy looked pretty good before walked. You have to imagine he's traded at some point. Could be pretty ugly there in Miami. Next up, Milwaukee, Tyler Alexander. And who is this? Chad
Patrick. I'm looking him up right now.
Yeah, not somebody I know a ton about. Made 24 starts, 26 total appearances at AAA Nashville last year. Pretty darn good year. Pretty good year, actually, at Nashville last year.
Oh, real? Yeah, 25-year-old though, so I temper it just a bit.
Yeah, he'd be a guy that I'd be really reluctant to trust until I see it against big league competition. Tyler Alexander versus Casey versus Cincinnati. I think I'm going to go 1-0 here. Alexander 1, Patrick 0.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give Patrick the benefit of the doubt, but nah, I'm going to go with you.
We've talked in recent years, I mean, not a ton, but just how big that jump is from AAA to the majors. It seems like, it's just one step. The difference in competition is just so stark. I mean, as much as you'd love to say, look at what he did last year in AAA. Well, the equivalencies are really tough to nail down.
I mean, it's not the same because it's minor leagues versus pros, but it's it's like the jump from college to pro in football.
Yeah,
people all the time say the number 1 ranked football team could beat the fill in the blank worst pro team, and no, the worst pro team is going to crush the best college team. But anyway,
whenever people say that, like, Alabama could beat the Browns or whatever, it's like, no, it's not. That's not really how it works. Yes, Angelo, I already lamented Ian Jabot getting the 9th inning. It almost gave me a brain aneurysm.
As far as the next question from Frank, understand why you don't want to make daily moves. Well, first of all, you're not going to get people putting that much money into a contest and have to make daily moves. That's a practical reason. And I don't, it's fantasy baseball should not be about current events. It should be about evaluation, etc. And Greg Ambrosius, has long said he doesn't want it to be a streaming contest. The hitters midweek was a good concession on his part. I think that's a smart move, but it's a game of skill. And once you start switching guys in, it's a game of health and who you can get active. It it's not strategy, it's common sense at that point.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I'm good with the half weeks in the NFBC. I think that's a good medium.
Yeah.
You can't change your pitchers in the half weeks.
Right.
but
I think it's a great concession. I'm in a league where you can change your pitchers half week, and it's there. You put your relievers in half. You have your relievers in there, and then you move your starters. It's a different game. You need to be able to evaluate starting pitching and doing it once a week. Yeah, you get messed up once in a while on a Sunday start that gets rained out or gets scratched, but that's everybody does.
True. All right. And back to our 2-star pitchers here. Up with Minnesota, Chris Paddock. A decent spring, nothing too crazy, but a 1.19 whip, 21 strikeouts in 17 2/3 innings. 21 strikeouts against only 4 walks, by the way. So, Chris Paddock many years ago was a top prospect. Hasn't really panned out, but he's a guy that maybe if you're down a pitcher already, could see giving him a chance since he's at the White Sox, then home against Houston. I think I'm going to give him a 2. Feels a little high, but
I am as well. I need to ask you for a favor.
Yeah.
Earlier in the chat, someone said Bailey Ober could be the Cy Young winner.
That's
you
right.
heard it here first. Can you clue that guy in a little bit?
Yeah, Todd is the foremost expert on Bailey Ober.
I don't know what expert, Stan,
fanboy,
cheerleader, pump hype man with the the Mike Tyson hype man. Anyway,
it's been that way for a few years, so you should get that credit. But hey, you got a supporter here in the chat on Bailey Ober. He will be versus Houston next weekend, by the way. David Peterson for the Mets at Miami versus Toronto. So that first matchup of the week at Miami certainly adds to his appeal.
Being home, I mean, Toronto, every year we say they should be putting runs up, and they never do, right? Maybe this is the year. I mean, I'm at 3. I'm just debating whether I go higher on David Peterson.
Wow.
I'm at 3. I think
on here.
Unless you talk me into it, I'm going to stay at 3.
Okay, I wrote down 2, so I think I'll stay there. But
okay,
I could see it. I mean,
matchup driven for me. City Field's such a great place to pitch. It's still going to be a bit cool.
Yeah.
And East Coast it's not freezing, but it's up to 58, and here I am talking to you. I need to go for a walk. It's 58 degrees. That's hot.
Oh, I know. It's like 70 here today. I couldn't believe it.
Nice.
Absolutely unreal here in Wisconsin. So I have the next guy down on the list in a few leagues, Will Warren. I think I'd lean Will Warren over David Peterson, but if maybe Peterson's more widely available, and maybe you could give him a chance. But
that's a good comparison this week, because I mean they're both somewhat matchup driven. Although Arizona's got a good offense, but it's at home. If I'm going to go 3 on Peterson, I have to go 3 on Warren, because to me they're that close.
Yeah, I have 2 on Peterson and 3 on Warren. Another guy that I took out in the half week that I'll be plugging back in because versus Arizona at Pitt, pretty nice. I mean, it could blow up on you, and maybe I'm buying in a little into the spring, a little too much on Will Warren, but in that bucket, I'd say with David Peterson. As justifiable options, certainly. Now, probably one of the top 2-star pitchers on the board this week, Cristopher Sanchez. If you paid that price late in draft season, it kind of hurt to have to swap him out for the half week. But I mean, getting legitimate Cy Young buzz on a national level with how he looked this spring. I'm going to go 5 because versus Colorado, he does have to face the Dodgers in the second one, but. Love the upside here, and definitely a guy that I'll be starting everywhere.
Yeah, I was thinking, why Tuesday? That's a weird day to have off. It's Phillies home opener, and it's an East Coast team, so you have it in case of rain out, etc. Yeah. Lefty against Colorado on the road is just a no-brainer. All right, it's one of those games on Sunday where you just hope he holds his own against the Dodgers. I'm going to go 5 as well.
And then here's an easy one. I'd say Carmen Mlodzinski. Going to be a 0 for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you get to pronounce it and be the lead, not me.
Yeah, maybe that L is I don't know, But
Yeah, well.
Carmen Mlodzinski, not somebody I will be considering in drafts. I think it's just a matter of time until we see Bubba Chandler, or I think maybe Thomas Harrington. Yeah, also in the mix now. Now, here's a kind of an interesting one if you're really looking for somebody. Kyle Hart, the San Diego Padres, made that rotation as the number 5 and jumping from, what was it, Japan or Korea?
Triple Crown in Korea.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys make that jump. Eric Fetty recently, and Merrill Kelly, is that who I'm thinking
Merrill
of
Kelly,
from many years ago? So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go probably higher than versus Cleveland at Chicago. Probably only a 1 for me, but definitely a guy on my radar to potentially roster for future starts.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of like W know versus W don't know. I might even go 2 just because I'd rather start someone that I don't know stinks than someone I do know stinks.
That's a good point.
So yeah, but I kind of, he's a former Red Sox. That's not why I'm rooting for him. I just like the stories about going to Korea. The thing about going to Korea, they're using that as like a laboratory because they're pretty big into the biomechanics, etc. So I like stories like that where you're learning how to pitch. And I love when pitchers talk about the shape of my curveball. I needed to work on it. So I also love pitchers that are out there like they're just so good that they blow you away. But I like hearing pitch. Pablo Lopez is kind of a little bit of both. He's good and he talks the talk.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. That's a really good point of the devil you don't know versus the devil you know, and I guess there is that.
But, yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you get some. You feel a little bit better about setting your starting lineup. Emerson Hancock for the Seattle Mariners, stepping in with George Kirby out for at least a few weeks. Emerson Hancock versus Detroit at San Francisco. Not a lot of success last year.
He's going to be available, right? I think he's going to be available in a lot of leagues.
And these matchups are pretty enticing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tempting. If you're aggressive early, you're not going to get a much better pickup, right? I mean, guy to pick up. What am I going to do?
Well, what do you say between him and Hart? Because I think I'm going to have them both as 1s, but
yeah, you know what? Matchup wise, I guess I think I like them at home at San Diego and then at the Cubs early in the year. I like the matchups better for Hart. I'm going to go 2, but I do like Hart a little. I'm not going to say he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. But I think I do like the matchup a little bit.
All right, so it sounds like we got the same grades on Hart and Hancock. I got 1 for both. You got 2 for both. Gosh, our friends up in Canada, I want to express my love for all y'all, including Brett the Hitman Hart. I had the pleasure of meeting, by the way. If you didn't know. Absolutely unreal guy.
Isn't he bigger than you think? I mean, he's bigger than he looks on TV.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was sitting down when I met him, but he's still big hands, a big dude. They say never meet your heroes, but that does not apply to Brett.
Well, I met you, and that worked out all right.
That's way too kind. All right, wrapping up things here. Jordan Hicks for San Francisco at Houston versus Seattle. So he will, at least on paper, be opposite Hancock in that final start of the week. Initially, that transition to the rotation last year started off well, but then he ran out of steam, Jordan Hicks. So I still kind of just feel like he's probably in the bullpen long term.
I keep saying the same thing. Is he still starting? Every time you say Hicks with 2 starts, like he's still starting?
Yeah, exactly. They kind of had to pull the plug on it last year, but then they inserted him back in the rotation this season. At Houston versus Seattle.
Well, Uncle Ted finally says something I agree with.
Bret Hart is the best technical wrestler of all time. I'm going to go 0, I think. I think there are better options available in the vast majority of leagues.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, you want the strikeouts, but they're not guaranteed to be there. I'm going to go 0 too. I mean, I've never been the biggest Jordan Hicks fan. I know I'm not. I know we're not voting on fandom, but I don't know.
I'm still holding on to Hayden Birdsong, by the way. The bird song of
I think you
our
have to.
generation. Yeah.
Lyndon Rope is just not Rope is just he outpitches peripheral things like that. I usually do this with position players, and where a guy beats out the position player and he's clearly better, but the position player had a better spring. The other guy always gets the job back. I think Birdsong is a better pitcher. He's going to get that job.
Yeah, same. I think it's a little tough right now. To stash a guy, and it's compounded if you have like a McClanahan or some other pitcher that you're having to stash now. But
yeah,
I think if you can hold on to Birdsong, because and I saw some people making some good points that Corbin Burns broke in 2020. He was in the bullpen, and Strider was in the bullpen the year he broke out. So
yeah,
that could be a similar path for Birdsong. Miles Michaelis versus the Angels at Boston. I mean, I feel like a 1, kind of like a complimentary 1, but I don't feel good about starting him. You going higher than a 1?
No, I'm not. Even early in the year, Michaelis is the kind of guy that, sometimes, beats the Red Sox. The Sox sometimes have trouble against these crafty righties. There's not that many crafty righties. A lot of crappy righties. No, I'm going to go 1. I mean, there's just so much risk. If you can't rely on strikeouts, and you can't, then to me, it's just too risky. You can't say, well, at least he fanned 8. You're not going to say that with Michaelis.
Yeah, true. So you going 1 too?
Going 1, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That may even be high, but
yeah. I mean, you don't feel good about it either way. But
no.
Drew Rasmussen versus Pitt at Texas. Another guy who kind of get some late buzz. We've seen him pitch at a pretty high level at the major league level before. Man, let me double check the spring he had.
I'm concerned with the innings in that you may only get him for 4.
He only threw 10 2/3 total in the spring.
Yeah, and look at what he threw last year. So I don't see a ton of innings.
That's a really good point.
Productive innings. They could be very quality innings, but I almost would rather have him be the primary pitcher. Go 4 innings and get a win.
Yeah, I think that would be. I mean, for fantasy purposes, that'd be ideal.
Tampa's not smart enough to do that, right?
Oh no, they're not a smart organization.
You're going to sign Sergio Romo to be their opener, first ever opener.
Is that true?
Yeah, and I remember. Okay, so it wasn't you that I was talking about. One of the many RotoWire shows. I'm so happy that I do so many of them that I don't know which host it was that I was talking with. Thank you guys. That I remember listening to the interview with Romo that day, and he's like, "I didn't come up to the game before and says you're." It was Madden, and Joe at the time he came up to the game says you're starting. Like, what? I'm not a starter. He's like, don't worry, you're only going to go 1 inning. He's like, oh, okay. It was just kind of so funny.
Yeah, my head, I always had it on like Ryan Stanek because they actually made like a bottle opener with his face on it, kind of as a play on words there. But interesting that Sergio Romo is the first. I didn't know that. I do remember him opening a few games though. Kumar Rocker, pretty exciting arm now.
Do we ever put a number on Rasmussen?
Oh, I put a 0 on him. What say you?
I'm gonna go 2 because I think they're gonna be. I think you can help your ratios.
Oh wow!
But you just know, I mean, it's a 4 if he's pitching 5 or 6. But Pittsburgh, okay, at Texas, we'll see. But I'm gonna go 2 just because I think to me you can help your ratios.
I bumped him up to a 1. You're right.
All right. Okay.
0 was too low. So yeah, I mean he's. And who knows? I mean, if he's efficient, he could maybe go 5 and get a win.
Maybe. You're right. Yeah, maybe he could.
So I'd have him behind like Emerson Hancock and maybe not Kyle Hart, but on par. So yeah, one sounds good to me. Now Kumar Rocker at Cincinnati versus Tampa Bay. We know the pedigree here, but he is not a finished product by any means. So very much a risky play here. Kumar Rocker at Cincinnati versus Tampa Bay. I think I'm going to go 1 only because like Hancock and Hart and Rasmussen, some good with the bat. And I think the risk just brings him down to a point where if I can avoid it, I'd like to here.
Yeah. It's going to be his first start. He's going to be amped up, and that's the problem is the control, right?
Mm.
Ellie will swing at anything, but he also will hit anything.
You'd be surprised. He didn't swing at a single pitch out of the zone yesterday, by the way.
Did he?
Pretty
wow.
amazing.
And Soto striking out on pitches out of the zone.
That's right.
Two of them, the high pitch and then the pitch that he kind of check swung. I'm gonna get in the NFBC mode where you're chasing strikeouts, but he's gonna strike some batters out. Rocker is, so I'm gonna go 1 just for the strikeouts.
Gotcha. Yeah, me too on Kumar. All right, down to our final couple teams here. Bowden Francis versus Washington at the Mets. So, yeah, pretty good venue that second time out. I know you were on him a bit last year. Did you end up drafting Bowden Francis anywhere?
It was one of those things where I was on him because of opportunity. Then he didn't do so well, and I got rid of him. And then other people picked him up because he got a lot better. And I did not keep him where I should have kept him. You don't hate these matchups. I know the Mets, they do have some good hitters, but it's a good park. To me, it's at least a 2.
Okay, I'm going 1, but yeah, I should probably not put stock into his spring, but kind of a rough spring, and
I try not to put stock in the spring.
Yeah, tough guy for me to trust, at least.
The manager has to. I don't.
I'm going to go 1. That's what I had. Okay,
right.
I just if I have Rasmussen at 1, Rocker 1, Francis probably deserves a 1, but not a guy I feel great about. We'll
this
see.
One's easy.
Tough game yesterday for Barrios, by the way. Yeah, and finally we got an easy one here to close things out. Trevor Williams at Toronto versus Arizona. Actually did not pitch all that terribly last year, and actually it's quite good.
Well, the numbers were good. The numbers were good.
The results. Were good. Yeah, the results.
Strikeouts and walks, not so much.
Yeah, the underlying numbers do not support that. So easy to poke holes in Trevor Williams' season. I'm going to go 0.
I'm going 0 as well.
No reason to roll the dice that early. We get some Ellie MVP love in the chat. I hope that pans out. Because by the way, I didn't have a chance to mention it. Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to say I took Ellie at 3 overall in the main event. So
good for you.
My first Ellie share, and
good for you.
I'm officially along for the ride.
You passed on Judge at that point?
I did, which was tough, but I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was just dreading it. I was sitting there like, man, this build. It's all about the thought of the build in my mind. Like, I'm going to be chasing steals. I'm going to be chasing pitching from here on out.
Yeah, well.
Now, maybe I'm overthinking it, but if you're competing in the main events and you're chasing those and you're pushing guys up past ADP every pick, I just didn't like the thought of the build.
I don't think you have to chase steals. I think you can get them. I think they come to you. Although I didn't do as many 15-team drafts, so I'm maybe thinking of 12s. But I could jump Ellie over Jose Ramirez at 4, but I still have to take Judge. But to talk about MVP, I didn't do it for RotoWire, and I was just so busy this week, but I did it for Vlad Sedler. He gave us a bunch of picks. Who do you want for your NL MVP? Ellie was my guy for NL MVP. Not to mention, do I have it handy? No, do I have it handy? He's the I got to choose, and he's the it was the cover boy of my magazine. Where'd it go? Did I rip the cover off? There you go. He's the cover boy.
Fantasy Baseball Index.
Very much. Don't you love listening to opposing team broadcasters just marvel at De La Cruz?
Oh, he is a marvel. Gosh. It's amazing. I still do have some concerns with the batting average and don't love taking a guy who has some significant downside there so early. But Francona said that he's keep getting better, Ellie, and keeps improving. And we saw it already yesterday with the strike zone discipline. So, and also, by the way, I had done an earlier draft on Monday, a 12 team where I did take Judge at 3. So I had 2 drafts on Monday where I picked third. Judge at 3 and the 12-teamer worked out fine. I was fine with it. But in the 15, especially when everybody's pushing up pitching and steals, I just thought, why not have a little fun and take Ellie?
Oh,
And
it's
get my
perfectly
power later. I got
defensible.
Soderstrom later. I got enough power, I think, in the end. But with more steals league wide, you need more steals on your fantasy team. So, and you're right. Maybe you can find steals later, but I like the idea of getting some wrapped up, and the upside is through the roof, of course.
Oh yeah.
And I also worry a little bit about Judge just without Soto there. And the same could be said about Ellie, pitching around him a little bit. But.
Judge did just fine the 2 years without Soto.
True.
I mean,
it's hard to nitpick.
If he didn't kick a sprinkler in Chavez Ravine, we talked in 3 straight years of 150 games and 55 homers.
That's true. Well, let's recap our grades for the first week of the season, the first full week of March 31st, 2025. Corbin Burns is a 5. Joey Estes 0. Grant Holmes, I say 3. Todd 2. Cade Povich, I say 3. Todd 2. Sean Newcomb 0. Ben Brown 1. Brady Singer, I say 1. Todd 3. Carson Spires 0. Luis L. Ortiz, I say 0. Todd 1. Herman Marquez 0. Martin Perez 0. Casey Mize, I say 2. Todd 3. Ronel Blanco 3. Chris Bubich 2. Tyler Anderson 0. Tyler Glasnow 5. Cal Quantrill 0. Tyler Alexander 1. Chad Patrick 0. Chris Paddock 2. David Peterson, I say 2. Todd 3. Will Warren 3. Christopher Sanchez 5. Carmen Mladzinski 0. Kyle Hart, I say 1. Todd 2. Emerson Hancock, I say 1. Todd 2. Jordan Hicks 0. Miles Michaelis 1. Drew Rasmussen, I say 1. Todd 2. Kumar Rocker 1. Bowden Francis, I say 1. Todd 2. Finally, Trevor Williams 0. Really good stuff. Appreciate everybody coming to hang out in the chat. Angelo, Uncle Ted, Emron, everybody. And really appreciate it. Anything else on your mind, Todd, here as we wrap things up?
Have some fun. I know fantasy baseball is the grind, but let's first weekend. This is what we'll be working for. Manage your teams, but have some fun watching some games. And you know what? Don't stare at your standings. Please don't stare at your standings.
Yeah, no kidding. And yeah, I mean, Emron and Chet, we played such deep leagues. There are 8 team leagues out there, some quote unquote shallower leagues in terms of the player pool. And Emron was wondering if he should add Mackenzie Gore in an 8-team league. Absolutely. You got a bench spot for him.
Yeah, to me, in an 8-team league, you're streaming.
Yeah.
I don't know you keep him on the roster all year long, but I think you add him now to see what ends up happening.
And I want to second Todd's point. Try not to look at your standings if you can. And MLB.TV, get your crap together so we can all watch. It was a little frustrating yesterday. It seems like it was down for a lot of people. But yeah, enjoy the first weekend, everybody. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for the insight, Todd. And we'll be back with you next week on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by Vivid Seats.